Good afternoon, evening, morning to all. My name is Amanda Nace, and today I'll be presenting a brief presentation on alternative assessments, which may be useful in adult online education and how we as educators can go beyond traditional assessments, such as multiple choice tests and quizzes, to get a better understanding of knowledge and skills gained. So traditional assessments, such as written examinations, multiple choice tests, and quizzes, largely reflect a philosophy that education is about students acquiring a body of knowledge, and these assessments can effectively determine whether or not a student has acquired a body of knowledge. However, this demonstration of recall and recognition, which is assessed via tests, is typically less revealing about what we really know and can do than when we are asked to construct a product or performance out of facts, ideas, and propositions. It's important for us to keep in mind that we're dealing with adults, and most educators agree that adult learners seek out learning opportunities in order to cope with life changes, and they usually want to learn something that they can use to better their position or make a change for the better. And they're not always interested in just learning for knowledge's own sake. Because adult learners bring their own life experiences and previous knowledge to the courses, students and teachers can benefit from knowledge sharing if the instructor can encourage assessments which include real-world examples and research projects rather than standardized answers which fail to encourage thought and discussion. Alternative assessments are also called authentic or performance assessments, and they ask students to analyze, synthesize, and apply what they've learned in a substantial manner, and students create new meaning during this process. So Grant Wiggins described authentic measures as engaging and worthy problems or questions of importance in which students must use knowledge to fashion performances effectively and creatively. The tasks are either replicas of or analogous to the kinds of problems faced by adult citizens and consumers or professionals in the field. It seems to me that given what we know about adult learning and the desire of adults to learn new skills that can be directly applied and used to improve their professional experience, alternative assessments are a better way to measure a student's success in a course than traditional assessments. So some examples of alternative assessments. First of all, alternative assessments don't have to be elaborate projects which span several weeks. They can also be brief activities. According to John Mueller, who developed the Authentic Assessment Toolbox, which is designed to enhance student learning online, many teachers have mistakenly equated authentic assessment with extensive assignments, but adults often face many simple and brief tasks in their everyday work. One idea Mueller shared, which I particularly liked, is sharing news headlines from scientific news stories in the media and asking students to determine if a headline is causal or correlational in nature. Then he asked them to determine if the research in the article actually justifies such a claim. So, for example, students would be asked to click on the link to the article and determine if taller people really are more prone to cancer, or if watching too much TV can kill you because sitting in front of a TV for 5 hours a day actually increases the risk of pulmonary embolism. As someone in the field of public health, we are often asked to evaluate the quality of scientific research and determine whether a study can make causal claims. But by linking the students to the news headlines rather than academic articles, the assessment seems more grounded in the real world and helps to demonstrate the importance of being able to determine which news headlines are legitimate and which are fake news. And the other example you see listed here is asking students to use real-world data to draft a policy memo. And there's a picture of a policy memo for an online advocacy class that I was a TA for. Other examples of alternative assessments include asking students to analyze a political cartoon, such as the Trump tweets cartoon you see there, create a stakeholder map, or meet with an elected official and decision maker and advocate for an issue. There are numerous types of different alternative assessments which could be used. It all depends on your subject matter and class. You can think of authentic assessment development in terms of 4 questions. The first being, what should students know and be able to do? This will generate a list of knowledge and skills that will become your standards. Second, what indicates students have met these standards? To determine if students have met these standards, you will design or select authentic tasks. Then third, you will ask, what does good performance on this task look like? To determine if students have performed well on the task, you will identify and look for characteristics of good performance called criteria. Then you will ask, how well did the students perform? And to discriminate among student performance across the criteria, you will create a rubric. From there, you will need to consider how well should most students perform, and this will help to determine the minimum level at which you would want most of the students to perform, aka a benchmark. And lastly, you should ask, what do students need to improve upon? And information from the rubric will give students feedback and allow you to adjust your instruction if you need to. So what's the theoretical basis for all of this? And the theoretical basis is constructivist learning theory, which states that individuals learn through building their own knowledge, connecting new ideas and experiences to existing knowledge and experiences to form new or enhanced understanding. And alternative assessments are very much in line with active learning, which is commonly defined as activities that students do to construct knowledge and understanding. And you'll see the definition here as instructional activities involving students in doing things and thinking about what they are doing. So what's the evidence for this? Freeman and colleagues conducted a meta-analysis, which I want to remind us is the top of the pyramid of evidence, and of 225 studies comparing constructivist versus exposition-centered course designs in STEM disciplines, they found that students in traditional lectures were 1.5 times more likely to fail than students in courses with active learning. They found that these results were consistent across disciplines, and the authors concluded that the evidence for the benefits of active learning are very strong, stating, if the experience analyzed here had been conducted as randomized controlled trials of medical interventions, then many of them would have been stopped for benefit because the treatment being tested is clearly more beneficial. So why should we use alternative assessments? And what are the advantages in using alternative methods in an online course with adult learners? We want to know that students don't just know the content of their disciplines when they graduate, but that they are also able to use their new knowledge and skills in the real world. Therefore, our assessments have to tell us if students can apply what they learned in real-world scenarios. And alternative assessments provide the most direct evidence that students actually learned the intended skill being taught. Research has shown that we can't simply be fed knowledge. We need to construct our own meaning of the world, using the information we have gathered. Therefore, asking students to parrot back information they have received isn't enough. They need to be able to construct meaning about what they've been taught, and alternative assessments facilitate this. Lastly, alternative assessments are more flexible. We all learn differently, and we all demonstrate what we've learned differently. And in traditional assessments, such as multiple choice tests, there isn't much variability in how students demonstrate the knowledge and the skills they learned. Therefore, it's recommended that multiple and varied assessments are used. And alternative assessments give students more flexibility to demonstrate what they've learned. So speaking of learning styles, do you know how you learn best? The VARK Learning Questionnaire will be able to tell you more about your learning style. I personally took this quiz and was surprised to see that I was more of a verbal reading and writing learning style. By taking this quiz, it may help you to reflect on the ways that you learn best as you consider how others in your class may learn and develop assessments for a diverse group of learners. So what are some of the challenges which may arise when using alternative assessments in an online course? I think one of the biggest challenges to developing and using alternative assessments is laziness on the part of the instructors. Creating alternative assessments requires creativity and time. Most textbooks come with stock multiple choice questions and suggested final exams with answers. Instructors can save a lot of time by using auto-graded tests and quizzes. However, we need to consider the benefits of using alternative assessments and remember that alternative assessments do not have to be long, multi-week projects and can be simpler tasks. Another challenge which may arise is developing assignments that are relevant and can be completed by learners across contexts. I think of this because one of the examples of an alternative assessment I gave earlier was asking students to meet with an elected official or decision maker to advocate for an issue. I've seen this used as an assignment in an online class at CUNY where all students and the instructor were located in New York City. Therefore, the instructor was familiar with the landscape and the decision makers and could help students in choosing an appropriate decision maker for their advocacy issue. This may be more challenging if students are located all over the world and coming from different cultures and contexts that the instructor isn't familiar with. So lastly, I want to leave you with some discussion questions and ask you to discuss if any of you have used alternative assessments in an online class before. Can you please share your experiences with the class? And can anyone give at least 2 alternative assessment examples that you may consider using in your online course? Lastly, you'll see some references here and websites that you can check out with more information about how to develop your own authentic assessments and the VARK Learning Questionnaire link as well. Thanks so much and enjoy your day.